Welcome back. We are here with another fantastic episode today. I want to talk with you about something that's really, really important in this life. And if you can understand this, you're off to the races. You're golden. You're emotionally set. You're physically set. Your health, happiness, and wealth will soar if you can understand this concept. And this comes from one of my favorite books, actually recommended to me by Bob Proctor. And it's this little book, called The Science of Getting Rich. There's so much wealth of knowledge in here, but I specifically want to go over a particular chapter that I believe if you understand this, you can have riches, you can have happiness, you can have health, anything that you want if you understand this. And it's one thing. This chapter 4, in The Science of Getting Rich, it's a book by Wallace Wattles, and it was published in 1910. And the price was $1. It was sold for $1 in 1910. That was probably a lot of money. But chapter 4 is the first principle in the science of getting rich. The first principle in the science of getting rich. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. He calls this formless substance, this infinite intelligence, this God, source, energy, whatever you want to call it. He refers to it in here as formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks, and a thought of form in this substance produces the form. He says, a thought of form in this substance produces the form. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in original substance. As the formless stuff thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it makes that motion. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. You see, everything in our lives all started as a thought. This camera, the phone, the book, the things that you were doing in your life, it all started as a thought. So he's saying when it takes form of thought, when you have the thought, it begins to take form in this visible reality. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. The thought of a moving universe extended throughout formless substance, and the thinking stuff moving according to that thought took the form of systems of planets and maintains that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought, holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds. It takes the form of these bodies and moves them as it thinks, thinking the form of a slow growing oak tree. It moves accordingly and produces the tree, though centuries may be required to do the work. Wow. Thinking the form of a slow-growing oak tree, it moves accordingly and produces the tree, though centuries may be required to do the work. That's how anything is developed in this world. You take a child, for example, when the moment of conception, a particle of DNA from mom and a particle of DNA from dad, boom, come together. The nucleus of you is born. And then you are in your mother's womb for 9 months. The deed was already done. There was nothing you could do to come out faster. It needed to take the 9 months to develop you, to process you, and then deliver you into the world to where you are a physical being in this reality. So he's saying here, thinking the form of a slow-growing oak tree, it moves accordingly and produces the tree, though centuries may be required to do the work. In creating, the formless seems to move according to the lines of motion it has established. The thought of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a full-grown oak tree, but it does start in motion the forces which will produce the tree along established lines of growth. Every thought of form held in thinking substance causes the creation of the form, but always, or at least generally, along lines of growth and action already established. It's already here. Just find the pathways. It already grows along the lines of growth and action already established. The thought of a house of a certain construction, if it were impressed upon formless substance, might not cause the instant formation of the house, but it would cause the turning of creative energies already working in trade and commerce into such channels as to result in the speedy building of the house. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, then the house would be formed directly from primal substance, without waiting for the slow processes of the organic and inorganic world. No thought of form can be impressed upon original substance without causing the creation of the form. Man is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that man fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. Everything is starting with your thoughts, and then it's moving into feelings and then into actions. Really think about that. It starts in your thoughts. Believe in your dream. Believe in your imagination. Believe in whatever you are thinking. If you can think it, it can happen. So believe in yourself. Man is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that man fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. Nothing can happen for you until you think it, until you produce the thought. Once you get the thought, act on it. Move. But until you have that thought, you may not know how to act. So it starts with your thoughts. And so far, man has confined his efforts wholly to the work of his hands. He has applied manual labor to the world of forms, seeking to change or modify those already existing. Just going by what you hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. He has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing his thoughts upon formless substance. What did Abraham Lincoln say? He said, to believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. He's saying it's not really belief to believe in things that you can see and touch, what's here right now. Belief is really believing in the unseen, in your imagination, in your mind, how you really want to be. Believe in that. That's true belief. But to believe in the things that are here right now, that's no belief. That takes no belief at all. We already know this is here. So believe in your imagination. Believe in the thoughts and the ideas that you see for yourself. When man has a thought form, he takes material from the forms of nature and makes an image of the form which is in his mind. He has so far made little or no effort to cooperate with formless intelligence, to work with the Father. He has not dreamed that he can do what he seeth the Father doing. Man reshapes and modifies existing forms by manual labor. He has given no attention to the question whether he may not produce things from formless substance by communicating his thoughts to it. We propose to prove that he may do so, to prove that any man or woman may do so, and to show how. What's he saying? He's saying that people are only looking at what's in their current reality and trying to change that, trying to fix what's going on in this present reality with what they have, all the resources that they have available to them, to their eyes, to their senses. But he's saying that you are able to actually impress thought upon formless substance and produce that. Produce whatever it is that you want. So now he says, as our first step, we must lay down 3 fundamental propositions. First, we assert that there is one original formless stuff or substance from which all things are made, right? One source. All the seemingly many elements are but different presentations of one element. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are but different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in thinking substance produces shapes. Man is a thinking center, capable of original thought. If man can communicate his thought to original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the thing he thinks about. If man can communicate his thought to original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or the formation of the thing he thinks about. To summarize this, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. It may be asked if I can prove these statements, and without going into details, I answer that I can do so both by logic and experience. Reasoning back from the phenomena of form and thought, I come to one original thinking substance. And reasoning forward from this thinking substance, I come to man's power to cause the formation of the thing he thinks about. And by experiment, I find the reasoning true. And this is my strongest proof. If one man who reads this book gets rich by doing what it tells him to do, that is evidence in support of my claim. But if every man who does what it tells him to do gets rich, that is positive proof until someone goes through the process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails, and this process will not fail. For every man who does exactly what this book tells him to do will get rich. I have said that men get rich by doing things in a certain way, and in order to do so, men must be able to think in a certain way. A man's way of doing things is the direct result of the way he thinks about things, right? The way that you do things is a direct result of the way that you think about things. To do things in the way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step toward getting rich. To do things in the way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step towards getting rich. This is what it comes down to. It comes down to your thinking. To think what you want to think is to think truth, regardless of appearances. If you get one thing from this lesson today, it is this. Think what you want to think, regardless of appearances, regardless of what you hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. Think what it is that you want to think. See what you want to see. If you are not able to do that, then you are bound. You are bound to your environment, to this physical reality. Unleash yourself. Take the shackles off and think what you want to think and feel what you want to feel. See it in your mind's eye. Experience that. You are worthy of that. You deserve that. Give it to yourself. See yourself living the life you truly want to live and feel the emotions of living that, because what you are experiencing in your imagination is real. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference. So believe what you are seeing in your imagination. Get emotional with it. See what you want to see. See the actions taking place. Someone coming up to you and handing you money. You going and purchasing the car of your dreams, buying the house of your dreams, traveling on a vacation, on a yacht, earning millions of dollars in your business. See yourself doing great things in the industry that you're in, at your job, at your career, in your relationships. Visualize that. See that in your mind's eye, because that is real. Because if you're going by what you hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, by what's here in this environment right now, you're going to be pretty limited. Yeah, you don't have a reason to feel those great feelings, those great emotions, for you to think that way. But that's why you've been given an imagination. That's what separates you from the animal kingdom. That allows you to visualize, to see, to be anywhere that you want to be, and have whatever it is that you want to have. That's a beautiful thing. So be aware of that. Think what you want to think, regardless of appearances. Now, every man has the natural and inherent power to think what he wants to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances, which is what we just spoke about. To think according to appearances is easy. To think truth, regardless of appearances, is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work man is called upon to perform. You're not called upon in your job to think based off of your imagination. You are called upon to think based on what's here and right now. So really understand that you have to think what it is that you want to think. It's easy to go by appearances, but to think truth, regardless of appearances, it's hard. It takes time. I've worked on this skill, practiced this skill every single day. I've trained myself to let go of what's here and now and not get as emotional as I used to. And I've started to think based on what it is that I want to think. If a situation happens and it wasn't favorable, I'm not going to get emotional about it because I'm not going to give it any of my time. Give time to what it is that you want to experience. When you recognize that you are creating your own reality, you will only give thoughts and feelings to the things that you want in your future. That's it. That's what it comes down to. Don't give time and energy to things that you don't want to experience now or in the future. Only give time and energy to the things that you want in your life. The positive emotions, the great experiences, the positive visualizations. You can experience that right now. That's where your control is. That's where your true power lies. And understanding that you can think and feel independent of anything that's going on out here in this physical reality. Now, there is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world. This is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind which observes it. And this can only be prevented by holding the thought of the truth. To look upon the appearances of disease will produce the form of disease in your own mind and ultimately in your body, unless you hold the thought of the truth, which is that there is no disease. It is only an appearance, and the reality is health. There's this well-being, this light, this God consciousness, this source, infinite intelligence that's flowing to and through you at all times. There is no such thing as poverty. There is no such thing as disease. There's only well-being. There's only abundance. There's only health, wealth, happiness, joy, freedom. Disease, poverty, lack, that all comes from you not being in alignment with this source, with this energy, with this power, because you are not choosing to imagine those feelings or those realities. Think truth. The reality is health, wellness, happiness, abundance, joy, freedom. To look upon the appearances of poverty will produce corresponding forms in your own mind, unless you hold to the truth that there is no poverty. There is only abundance. There is only abundance. That's all that exists is abundance. There is no such thing as failure. There's only success. That's it. When you start to shift your perspective and only look at things as this, as success, there is only success. There is only abundance. Money is abundant. There's millions and millions and millions of dollars that are circulating that are for you. You just have to align to it. It exists for you. You just have to align your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and success can be yours. To think health when surrounded by the appearances of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of appearances of poverty requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a mastermind. He can conquer fate. He can have what he wants. This power can only be acquired by getting hold of the basic fact which is behind all appearances. And that fact is that there is one thinking substance from which and by which all things are made. There's only one source. There's only one God. There's only one energy. There's only one consciousness. We are all connected. When you recognize that, you understand that there is only health. There's only happiness. There's only abundance. The other side doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Tune into that energy. Then we must grasp the truth that every thought held in this substance becomes a form, and that man can so impress his thoughts upon it as to cause them to take form and become visible things. And it's not going to happen like that. A thought in this substance produces the form. It doesn't happen like that. How long does it take for a carrot seed? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? A baby? 9 months? Ideas are spiritual seeds. And those take time to develop, to blossom. And we don't know how long it takes for your dream, for your idea, but it goes through the same laws of the universe. It's going to take time to grow, to build. But it will become a reality. There is only success. Then we must grasp the truth that every thought held in this substance becomes a form, and that man can so impress his thoughts upon it as to cause them to take form and become visible things. You know the reason why most people don't achieve their dreams, don't achieve their goals, is because one day they want to be this, the next day they want to be that. They're constantly changing. One of the laws of the universe is the law of gender, and that states that all seeds go through an incubation or a gestation period before they are produced in this physical realm, in this physical reality. And your dream, your idea is a spiritual seed. So understand it's going to have to go through that incubation period as well. Kobe Bryant didn't become a basketball star within the first year of picking up a basketball. So recognize that there is that gestation period, that incubation period. You just have to continue, and you will reach the success. It will manifest for you. That's all it takes. When you understand the laws of the universe, your whole life changes. You start to realize things that you were unaware of. You start to think in different ways because now you are attuned. You are more aware of what's taking place in this reality. You are more aware of this life. So therefore, it brings you more happiness, more health, and more wealth because you're at peace. You know, you're aware of what's going on. You're not trying to force things. You know that there's the gestation or incubation period, and you know it's happening. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. When we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear, for we know that we can create what we want to create. We can get what we want to have and can become what we want to be. As a first step toward getting rich, you must believe the 3 fundamental statements given previously in this chapter. And in order to emphasize them, I repeat them here. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. It's everywhere. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe than this monistic one, and you must dwell upon this until it is fixed in your mind and has become your habitual thought. Read these creed statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory and meditate upon them until you firmly believe what they say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside as a sin. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures where a contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea. If you get mixed up in your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith. It comes down to you understanding that there is one source. This isn't a religion push. I'm not a very religious guy. I'm more of a spirituality, enlightened, just a spiritual being who's searching to find out more about myself and about this existence. So don't think of this as religion. This is you finding out more about you, about your true self. But religion's been a good thing, or it's done a good job because they've dressed it up in a way where they share stories And it relates to a lot of people, so people are able to grasp that. But I believe we're in a different time now, where people don't necessarily need to buy into the whole religion and choose different religions. We're all one. All the religions are all teaching the same thing. There's one God, one consciousness, one energy, one source. It's all the same thing. Science and theology will tell you that there is one source. God is, energy is, equal in all places at the same time. And that's what Wallace Wattles is saying here. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. It's everywhere. It's existent in everything, at all places, at the same time. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. You already created it. Now it's just a matter of time until it comes into this physical reality. Believe in that thought. That's real. It's just like you believing that your wife is pregnant. You don't see anything. Her stomach may not even be big yet, but you've bought into the idea that she is. So a thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. So start painting the bedrooms. Start preparing for your goal or your idea to manifest. You have to have that much of a belief in it and know that it's happening. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. So believe in your dream, believe in your goal, believe in your idea. See yourself as that right now, and it's only a matter of time. Put in the work, put in the effort, believe in it, and it'll happen. So that is the lesson for today. The Science of Getting Rich. Check it out if you haven't read it. It's an incredible book. That's just one of many chapters that I will be sharing here on the show. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining. And I will see you next video.